on this episode of the Dubcast, part of the Ramble Australia podcast network. There has been so much news over the last couple of weeks in Australian football that we don't even know where to begin, so we're just going to dive right into it. No fancy intros today. It's just myself, Poletti, and Burke, as always. I mean, Burke, we were discussing how to put together the rundown pre-record, and it's just like we didn't even know where to begin. Like, legitimately had no idea.
We need to start, we need to get, a wheel, big wheel with segments, and we just spin the wheel, or a hat with names out of it, which I think is quite literally what we're pretty much at. Whose name do you want first?
Do you want Haley Razzo? Do you want Emily Van Egmond? Do you want Sienna Silvesca? Do you want Riley Tanner?
We've got names. We've got maybe too many names.
Yes,
but you'll hear
probably
them.
Too many names to fit in a hat. We need that. We need that comically large hat that Drew Carey used in Whose Line Is It Anyway? We need comically large. But I think we'll start with the Central Coast Mariners. They have a new head coach after Emily Husband's departure in Kory Babington. Babington was previously, I believe he was part of the assistance coach roles for the Young Matildas. Was the interim coach earlier this year before Alex Parkas took on the role. Is also part of the Future Matildas program as well. So that program needs a new coach, which I believe is going to be announced in due time. He was also currently the director of football at Westfield Sports High. He's well credentialed in terms of, his skill set, his ability to coach, and is more than deserving of the role, Burke.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what direction he takes the Mariners in, because we know M. Husband had a very, very well-drilled side, and considering the loss in personnel that they have, I guess we'll be looking at a completely new Central Coast Mariners, which might, I guess, make their title defense or their championship defense a bit, I don't want to say difficult, but maybe it will be difficult when you look at what teams like Melbourne Victory have been up to. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, so as of the time of recording, there have been no player announcement signings. This news coming through on the 25th of August. That was, a week and a half ago, give or take, by a couple of days. So no player announcements as of yet, but I'm sure, Kory Babington, he's well-versed in women's football. He obviously, as part of the Future Matildas program, gets exposed to a lot of different players who, some may be available, some may not be, but you've got to have a look at the different NPLs and sort of scout those things as well to sort of see where the talent is lying. So it certainly knows what the what's the word I'm looking for here? What the not atmosphere, what the landscape of women's football is in this country. So I'm sure he'll be he'll be well versed to do that. But I want to touch on something else with this, and it goes back to the discussion we had a few weeks ago about the lack of women's coaches in the A-League women competition. And this is not a knock on Kory Babington. I want to stress that, right off the bat. This is not a knock on Babington, who more than deserves his job. But we only have one coach in the A-League women as things currently stand. With the ongoing Western United situation, presumably they're not going to be part of the competition this year, which means Bev Priestman is the only employed female coach in the A-League women as it stands. And obviously, being part of Wellington, there are no senior female head coaches in Australian-based teams. There are at least 3 female assistant coaches in A-League women's sides, 2 of whom are full-time. One of those being Amy Shepherd with the Wellington Phoenix. Mariska Walters, who was recently announced by Adelaide United and has become their first full-time A-League women assistant coach. Club legend at Adelaide over the last few years, retired back in May, I want to say off the top of my head. So, congratulations to Mariska Walters. Well deserved. Can't wait to see what she does in Adelaide with Theo Siunis, in that side, and they've made some good signings, and we'll touch on some of those in a little bit. And then you've got Tiana Gauchi in Perth, who I believe has multiple roles within the club, and so I think she's full time, but it's not a full time assistant coach, if that makes sense. And I could be wrong on her being full time, but I believe it's community development officer is the role that she holds with the club as well. So, it's very good to see there being female assistant coaches, but also like some of these coaches are more than capable of being head coaches in their own right. And we also ran over some of the options, Tiana Gauchi being one of them a few weeks ago, the likes of a Helen Winterburn, Caitlin Friend, Vic Guzman, probably more than capable of stepping into the senior role. And it just seems just endemic of the fact that, there's one female coach in the competition who's not even based in Australia. And then you combine that with Lainey Fryer's retirement, in which she cited, having a husband, building a house, needing to move on to the next stages of her life. And it's like, well, football should be that option, like you should be able to work full time in football. And I think that might be, and I'm pretty sure we touched on this a couple of weeks ago, might be part of the reason why there aren't as many female head coaches, because just socio and economically, like, you need full time work to survive. And if you're being expected to do all these different jobs, and instead of just being able to focus on being a coach, or in his case, or in Laney's case, a professional footballer, that does tend to wear on you a little bit. And yeah, as I said, absolutely no knock on Babington. He absolutely deserves his job, but something's got to give, Burke.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard enough in Australia right now to find a full-time job, and it's impossible to find a full-time job as an athlete, especially if you're a female athlete. Male athletes don't have that much of a problem, but the female athletes do. So, yeah, it sucks that we're still having the same conversations that we were having last year, the year before, the year before that, until like since the dinosaurs walked, we've been having this conversation. And the same goes with having female coaches. But I don't know, like, what do we do? Like, what do we do? Other than, like, supporting development paths for female coaches and actively promoting women in these roles, we're not gonna see any changes coaching wise. As for the money, well, we know that there's not a lot of it in this league. But hey, maybe if we considered doing some things like signing long-term contracts that you can then sell players from, which we've also been talking about since time immemorial, that could help. But what do I know? I'm not an economist. I just sit on my computer. Um, yeah, it's all a shame. It's especially, I think, a real shame that we're going to be down to one head female coach, considering the whole Western United situation, whatever that is. I don't know. They've appealed. Have they appealed the appeal? I don't know if they can do that, but they might have done that. They've done a lot of things at Western United. None of them include having a license at this point in time. So I fear we will not be seeing them this season. And even if they do have their license reinstated, I don't personally. This isn't a knock at Western United players. This is a knock at their management. I don't think they should play this season in any way, shape, or form, simply because they're already in so much financial disarray. I can hardly imagine paying player wages is going to help them, considering they weren't even paying players super last time around. Sorry, I got very diverted there. But Yeah,
No, it's all part of the discussion that we've got listed here
it's
on the rundown of just everything mashed together.
it's all everything unfortunately is all related. But do love that Adelaide have gotten Mariska Waldes. This bodes very well for me personally in my agenda, my personal agenda, to get Viviana Miedema into the A-League Women's somehow. Um, Marquee contract, anyone? Adelaide? I don't know how much money Adelaide has. I'm assuming it's none because nobody else has any money. Um, Mariska, pick up the phone, girl. Make a call. Ask her if she wants to come and spend the summer in Australia. It's lovely here. It's pretty nice in Adelaide too. I'll give you that. Um, but I do think it's very cool that they've managed to keep her on as considering she's such a legend of the game and the club. I think that's really cool that I guess players can kind of now sort of think that in their future they don't necessarily have to completely step away from football, that there are options like what Waldus is going to do with Adelaide. So if you get promoted, if you want to work in coaching, there are options for you. We just need people to take them. Or I guess we need clubs to take the options that they have available. You know what I mean.
Yes.
You know what I mean.
Yep. I I know that the South Australian government years ago, put out an offer that included like giving Lionel Messi like just one of the vineyards in Adelaide, right? Like, does Vivian Miedema like wine? Like, can we give her a vineyard to convince her to come to Australia?
I feel like maybe the Dutch like cycling. Do they you can cycle in Adelaide. Can we name a road after her? Maybe a long road she can ride her bike down.
The Vivian Miedema Velodrome in Adelaide
Please,
coming
something.
soon.
I whatever it takes. Yeah, I think a vineyard would be nice. A Miedema wine. Um, I think that could be fun. Whatever it takes. Like I said, pick up the phone. Either of them, Baldus or Miedema. One of you, pick up the phone. Answer the call. For
Yep.
me.
Yes, indeed. So we did sort of touch on it already. Lenny Fryer retiring. A quote from Fryer: "I have been playing football since the age of 5 and feel like it's time to move on with my life. I have recently just gotten married, built my house with my husband, and want to focus more on my work career." And I mean, we know that the CBAs are up at the end of the year in the A leagues. We've been talking about it ad nauseum, but surely this is the tipping point, right? Like, it's going to be full-time professionalism after this. Like, it has to be. We can't wait another 5 years.
I fear if we do not see full-time professionalism, we will not see a league because the players will walk and they should. I would. I would be right on the PFA's doorstep being like, hey, let's get this strike going. Let's
Yep. I have been on this train for a while in
let's
different conversations with people. Like, I fear we're heading towards a work stoppage.
like are we chaining ourselves to the doors of Amy Park? Maybe. I would support that. I think it'd be really fun. I love a strike. I was raised by unionists. I think strikes are great. Um, yeah, I that that's all I can see happening. Like you thought the Matilda's exodus to Europe was bad. This is going to be something else because these players, which is I don't mean offense by saying this, but a majority of them are not going to be able to get contracts in Europe or even in the US, um, or Scandinavia. Not even because they're not good enough, but because there simply isn't enough room
Yes.
to hire them. Um, so, yeah, I would love to see someone chain themselves to the doors of Amy Park. I really think that'd be fun. Yeah, full-time
I'll get my
professionalism.
best Homer Simpson impersonation out with the hunger strike. It's like, yeah, how many days will I last? I mean, to be fair, it is me, so I'll probably last like 5 hours, but still, I just chain myself to a pole outside the stadium.
Full-time
I
professionalism or bust, guys. I think we may be heading towards bust or a lockout or whatever it is that happens. Like, yeah.
which I should reiterate, we don't want that to happen. We want this to get
No,
solved. We want our
no,
beloved A-League women, but like strikes work. We know
please
this.
do not think in any way, shape, or form that I want the league to die. That is the exact opposite of what I want. I want them to get paid correctly and fairly and justly for the work that they do.
Yep.
But yes, no strikes. Strikes work. Otherwise, people wouldn't do them. Like, you don't go on strike for funsies. You don't,
No.
like, you're not just hanging out as a group being like, yeah, it's so fun to not make any money when we need to eat to live.
Yep.
Like, this is, like, it's last resort kind of stuff. Last
Yeah.
resort.
These are not things you take lightly. Also from Laney Fryer, last year was by far the best year when it has come to my football. I signed my first professional contract with Brisbane Roar. Had Sean by my side and scored a back-to-back hat-trick, which I will never forget. It was an awesome moment, and then I had a dream come true to represent my country as well. Thank you to all the fans. I was so grateful I was able to make my professional debut in front of the Brisbane fans, the best fans in the league. I wish the girls nothing but the best for the future, and we'll be cheering them on every step of the way. I mean, it sounds like she's leaving with no regrets, and
Yeah.
she gets to go out on her terms, which not
Yeah.
every player gets to do.
No, not at all, actually. Yeah, I was gonna say, hearing that quote again, I kind of respect it. Like, as much as I hate it, I kind of respect it. Like,
Yep.
she signs one pro contract, gets to play with her sister, back-to-back hat tricks, which hasn't been done before, I'm pretty sure. Like, she was the first person to do that.
That sounds about right.
And getting to play for the Matildas in front of her home crowd. That's like, you know what? Yeah,
Mad
I
respect.
respect it. Goes out on I wouldn't say absolute high considering the way Brisbane kind of ended last season. But personally, definitely on a high. Like, that's a good year. That is a good year. So yeah, I wish her all the best for her future. I'm sad that it won't involve Brisbane Roar football, but yeah, I wish her good luck nonetheless.
And who knows, maybe in 5 years' time, when the league's fully professional, she'll make a comeback. We can only hope.
She can. I mean, Michelle Heyman retired how many times? And she's still here. So,
Yes. And
Laney
she's
Fryer,
still set to play yet another season with Canberra United.
do not close that door, girl. Do not. Just leave it a little, just teeny bit open. Just enough to let the light in. All right? And
Yep.
when we get those pro contracts, head right on in.
Yep. We will keep a spot open for you. We say as if we have any power in this league whatsoever.
We do, obviously. We're in charge. That's why the league is run so efficiently and effectively and profitably. Obviously.
Well, I mean, the APL did make a profit last year, so something must be going right.
How are we doing this? How are we making a profit and yet half the teams are like being run on a budget of $2.50? Whatever.
I have absolutely no idea.
I'm not an
We sort of
economist.
no, we are not. We are not economists. We did, as we've sort of already touched on Western United a little bit. If you want to hear more about what's going on with Western United, head over to the Roundball Australia YouTube channel. Sort of covered a lot of what's gone on there over there, and we're not going to sort of rehash a lot of what's been said and taken place, in part because we've sort of lost track of where everything is at the moment. And I wouldn't blame anyone for losing track of where everything is, because it seems like every bit of day there's a new bit of information that counteracts the previous bit of information that came out with Western United. We'll move on to transfers now, and honestly, you know what? I'm just going to read these in the order they came through, straight off the A-League Women Twitter timeline, because it's the only way I can keep up with everything that's gone on. So, Lourdes Bosch has left Melbourne City to join NWSL expansion side Denver Summit.
Boom.
18 Keane has signed with Melbourne City from Canberra United.
I don't mind that.
No, I like it. I think it's a good move as well. There's been a few more re-signings in Canberra, I believe. as well. Sally James, Coco Mastorovic, Mary Standage Floody, and Hayley Taylor Young have re-signed in Canberra. Princess Abini departs Sydney FC, does not have a club as of yet, but is looking to play overseas. So hopefully for Princess that she finds a club soon. Melbourne Victory have had a ton of re-signings. Courtney Newborn, Rachel Lowe, Nikki Flannery have re-signed since we last recorded, as well as has Sienna Silvesca. She has moved from the Wanderers to Melbourne Victory.
That's a really good move.
That is, I rate that a lot for
Yeah.
Sienna Silvesca. They've also signed an American from the Hungarian League, Kennedy White. I'm not going to pretend to be any sort of expert on Kennedy White, so I'm going to trust Melbourne Victory scouting department there. They've got a good player. Sydney FC have signed Riley Tanner from Spokane Zephyr in the USL. I had a look. I basically read this as a direct replacement for Princess Abini. Riley Tanner takes Princess Abini's spot on the left wing. So, yeah, look, from what I've seen of Riley Tanner, I watched a little bit of Spokane Zephyr. And obviously she was here for the most recent Matildas games against Panama in July? Yes? Yes, that sounds right. Yes, that was when I went to Perth, was July. Yes. So, I was very impressed with what I saw there. Remember a little bit from the World Cup as well. So, I'm sure it looks like Sydney FC have got a very good replacement for Princess Abini. Devon Jackson has moved from Newcastle to Melbourne City. Adelaide United signed like 8 different players all at once. So they signed, let me run through the list here. Chelsea Dorber, Fiona Wirtz, Sian Dewey, Emily Hodgson, Claudia Jenkins, Matilda McNamara, Ilona Miller, and Sarah Morgan. Emily Hodgson received a 3-year contract, which I was corrected because I thought it was the first 3-year contract, forgetting that Sydney FC signed Amelia Casa and Bianca Gallus to 3-year contracts earlier this year.
You're telling me we can do that? We can
Yes,
sign
apparently we can.
people to long-term I didn't know we could do that. I thought we were only allowed to sign them to 1-year deals and then complain about how we can't make money.
Yes, so some very good work out of Adelaide. I mean, I believe before all of these 3-year contracts, the longest was Chidiac's 2.5-year deal with Victory, which he only played a season and a half of. So a lot of teams doing a lot of good work there in the contract department for some of their more talented players that have long-term potential. You either want to lock them up or, be able to sell them for a transfer fee down the line. Nanako Sasaki has gone from Adelaide to Canberra, while Holly Murray has gone from Canberra to Adelaide. Roller Badawea has signed with Perth Glory after a stint in Europe. Taylor Ray has gone from the Mariners to Melbourne Victory. Honestly,
also a really good move.
There's so much going on in Melbourne Victory. Like, this is, I don't want to say championship winning squad mostly because I think Jeff Hopkins will come find me for putting it into the universe and
you should say it.
Putting the mocker on him.
You should give him the Moz, give him the Eagle Eye, please. It'd be really funny.
They are low key building a championship squad down
there.
They are
low key stacked. It's very annoying, and it's all really like good young talent too, which is what's the most annoying of it all, because usually that's what Melbourne City is doing. Melbourne City are finding these random children and being like, yeah, go play. And then just making Rebecca Stott parent them all through the season. Ugh.
And it's worked.
And it has, which I'm guessing is why Victory are trying to do it too. Annoying. Oh well.
Georgia Ritchie has gone from Canberra United to Newcastle Jets, so presumably she will be the reserve goalkeeper to Anna Liette. And then Brisbane Roar have re-signed Tamika Yallop for another year. So very much looking forward to seeing her back in Brisbane.
I
And
mean, where else was she
Chelsea
going to go?
Bliss. No, of course not. She wasn't going to go. But someone who has left Brisbane is Chelsea
Just
Blissett. She's also gone down to Melbourne Victory. As many friends of the pod have said, the Queensland to Victoria pipeline continues with Chelsea Blissett.
She was already in that pipeline. Like she came down to play for Melbourne City and then went back and has now come back again. So
It's a good pipeline.
it never ends. It's not even like a pipeline. It's just like a loop, like a little
Yes.
current. You
Yes.
can ride it as many times as you want, it seems.
And then I think the last one that we need to touch on domestically, at least, is Kaya Stevenson has re-signed with Brisbane Roar after dealing with injuries last year. So I think that's everything that's happened over the last like 2 weeks since we've last recorded an episode, at least on the domestic side of
At
things.
least, yeah. Knowing our luck, though, as soon as we turn off record, someone will publish that they've transferred and signed and sold 8 different people.
Oh, of
Um,
course.
because that's just the luck of our podcast. It seems it happens
Yep.
every time.
Yep. But I mean, at least it means that things are getting done.
This is true.
But that's why I specify at the time of recording as much as I
At the
possibly
time
can
of
with these sorts of
recording.
things, because otherwise it's just not going to end
Don't
well.
don't be getting in our comments being like, actually, so and so was fined. Not at the time of the recording. Not
Happened
at the
after
time of
we
the recording.
recorded. Happened after we recorded. Heading overseas now in terms of our Aussies abroad. Haley Rasso has signed a 2-year contract with Frauen Bundesliga side. Why have I forgotten who it is? I should know who it is.
Frankfurt.
Eintracht Frankfurt. I don't know why I forgot that for a moment. She had signed at the start of last season a 2-year deal with Spurs. Leaves halfway through that deal. That's like it's now her 6th club in 7 years, and like I can understand some of these moves, right? So like going from Brisbane Roar to the WSL, signing with Everton, I can understand that. Going from Everton to Manchester City after she was released by Everton in 2021, I can understand that. Then going from Man City to Real Madrid, don't I know she was announced as leaving the club at the end of a contract. I guess sometimes you got to take game time wherever you can get it, but like Real Madrid, most definitely a step down in the women's game. They are not the powerhouse that they are in the men's game, and I don't think we need to go too much into that. If you know, you know. Then leaves Real Madrid after 1 year, signs 2-year deal with Spurs that we just touched on, leaves halfway through that, signs a 2-year deal with Eintracht Frankfurt to the end of the 2026-27 season. But 6 sides in 7 years, that's a lot of moving for a player.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and there was also the reports before this deal was signed that she was actually going to Benfica, which I think everyone thought was the move.
Yep.
So don't know what happened there, but good of her team and her, I guess, to still manage to secure a place for her elsewhere, because I really don't think going back to the Spurs was gonna be a vibe for her. Um, but yeah, it's a curious situation. Obviously, we don't know the circumstances behind any of it, but it is very interesting because you don't tend to see that much movement, I guess. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, look, we know that when Haley Razzo was at her best, she is, you know, one
one
of the
of the
best,
best.
players in the world, right? Like she can hang with the best of them. We see it for the Matildas. She's clearly talented and has that level of talent. But 6 clubs in 7 years is pretty damning, and I'd love to know what's going on, because it's just, if you're as good as you are when you're supposed to be this good, clubs generally try to keep that sort of player around. So I'd absolutely love to know what's going on there because this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, fear we're going to need the tell-all memoir at the end of her career.
I
Spare no
mean,
detail.
if there's one thing we've learned, it will sell out almost. It will sell out of its first print almost immediately. With the way Matilda's Fever is in Australia, keeping with our Matilda's overseas, Emily Van Egmond is rumored to be heading to Leicester at the time of recording from Birmingham City. Had the playoff with them last year against the London City Lionesses, which they lost, which saw London City Lionesses get promoted to the WSL. Van Egmond's probably too good to be playing in WSL2. I'd like this move. It gets her back to the WSL. Like, that's probably, where she deserves to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. It's, I think, an interesting move considering Leicester. Um, but I definitely would see it, yeah, as a step up for her from WSL too. But it could also be, a fun project for her to get a team promoted, because considering the Lionesses, London City Lionesses are now in the big leagues, I would presume Birmingham are gonna be the next ones up. So
Yep. And then you have, speaking of the London City Lionesses, Alana Kennedy heads back to the WSL after, what was it, like 8 months with Angel City?
yeah,
Um, Signing with the London City Lionesses. And honestly, it feels like someone just picked out the best side of like 2019 plus, Danielle Vanderdonk for the London
that's
City Lionesses.
I believe that's Vanderdonk Carpenter now.
Yes, it is. My sincerest apologies to
How good. That's like the
Mrs. and
longest name
Mrs.
in the world.
Yes, my sincerest apologies to Mrs. and Mrs. Vanderdonk Carpenter. So Alana Kennedy leaves Manchester City in January, goes to Angel City, and is now signs a 1-year deal with Angel City, and is now heading back to the WSL with the London City Lionesses, racking up those frequent flyer miles.
Yeah, I think London City Lionesses are a interesting project. They've made a lot of signings, and they have a lot of, as you mentioned, familiar names on their squad sheet. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they perform in the WSL. Um, yeah, I mean, obviously they won the second tier that earned them the promotion, but they seem to have added a lot of players since then, which does kind of make me feel a bit sad for the players that got them the promotion. But I guess this is what happens when your team is owned by a billionaire-ish person. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how all of these players kind of work together, because it does kind of feel like someone's just went, this is my favorite player from this team, and this is my favorite player from this team, and I really like this, and it's just like put them all together. So
It's like you're trying to build your FIFA Ultimate Team. It's just like, I like
literally,
you, I like you, I like you. Now
exactly.
work.
Yep. We shall find out if it does. And fast, I fear.
Yes. I can imagine there'll be some players getting moved on in January if it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And perhaps a coach or two. Um, and then just sort of rounding off our little player movement segment, Lydia Williams has formally announced her retirement from football. It follows her international retirement last year. Was set to play with Melbourne Victory in the last season, but injuries really hampered that, and we saw Courtney Newborn take the starter's job and just really run with it there. So, all the best to Lydia Williams, an absolute Matildas and Australian football legend, and your contributions to Australian football will never be forgotten. Is there anything you want to say on Lydia Burke?
Uh, she was just great. Like, she was such a presence on the pitch. You always knew she was on the pitch. Um, yeah, I will miss seeing her. Obviously, we haven't seen her in a while, but I'll still miss it. And yeah, congratulations to her on a incredible, an incredible career. Sorry, I know how the English language works. Yeah, congrats to her.
Yeah. We'll move on now to the rest of the topics that we need to discuss. Melbourne victory and Melbourne City. Now, this one dropped literally like 5 minutes after we recorded whenever we last recorded the full length episode, like two or so weeks ago. Melbourne City and Melbourne Victory have confirmed their intention to field women's teams in both senior and under 20 NPL Women's Victoria competitions, following an internal review of the Football Victoria Academy Girls program. So the FV Academy will no longer field senior teams, but will continue to exist for players below the age of 15. And at which point they will transition into club programs as opposed to the Football Victoria Academy program. This sort of follows the move that we saw Football New South Wales make last year with the disbanding of the Football New South Wales Institute, which saw that license being taken up by the Western Sydney Wanderers in NPL New South Wales. And the Wanderers did survive NPL New South Wales this year. They were not relegated. The same cannot be said of the Newcastle Jets, who were relegated in their first year eligible for relegation. So under the old program, Institute and what was then called the Emerging Jets could not be relegated from NPL New South Wales. They were full academy sides, players under the age of 18, and it was understood that those programs existed in order to get them playing time against high-quality opposition at the top level of State League football. That changed this year, and every side was eligible for promotion and relegation, and the Newcastle Jets have gone down at the first time of asking for that program. So yeah, Melbourne City and Melbourne Victory will be fielding teams in the NPL Women's Victoria next year. Western United also announced their intention to field a team, but with the ongoing situation there, something tells me that's probably not happening.
I fear we will not be seeing that.
No. So
Sorry.
this both CEOs mentioned it. Victory and City CEOs mentioned it as historic moments for the club, putting this all together. Overall, I think this is a fantastic move. I think every club needs to have an academy side playing in the state league competitions, being eligible for promotion and relegation as well. Doesn't necessarily mean they have to be playing in the top division of those competitions. Like as we'll see next year, the Newcastle Jets will be playing in the Football New South Wales League One Women's. On the men's side, their academy side also plays in the League One Men's competition, as do MacArthur's academy side, Bulls FC. We'll be touching on Bulls FC later in a very positive sense. So these are things that will happen, and the more teams that get involved, the better it'll help further strengthen and develop player pathways.
Yeah, I really like this move because I think this is how I personally, again, this is all about me. That's why I'm on this podcast. I will finally stop having to see 14-year-olds playing against fully grown adults. Please stop making me have to see 14-year-olds play against fully grown adults. This is what academies are for, so you can get them used to playing at a really high level without, the risk of them getting a leg broken by a grown adult. Which isn't to say that there aren't, obviously adults playing in these lower leagues, but they're more likely to be closer to their age and have less experience. But yeah, I do think these are really great options for Victory and City, and not right now Western United. They're just, why are they just hanging over everyone's heads? They're just haunting us. They're threatening us with their presence. But yeah, I think every side should be looking to have men's and women's academy teams, so youth age teams.
Yep, absolutely. The more of it, the better. And we'll stick in NPL land for the moment. Very New South Wales heavy focus here. Bulls FC Academy won the NPL Women's New South Wales Premiership over the weekend in a first versus second battle with Apia Leichhardt. at Lambert Park. Bulls FC walking away 2-1 victors. They only needed the draw to make or to win the premiership due to a superior goal difference, and in the end did it in quite some style in what was a very rough, tough, tumbly sort of game. Every time I glanced over to my second screen to look at it, because I was commentating a game at the time, there was always, like, there were players on the ground, there was stoppages, like there were referee stoppages, there were yellow cards being handed out. Like, it was just, it looked like the most intense game of football you've ever seen in your life. And spoke to Isabella Coco DeCipio, who's part of the Bulls FC Academy side, earlier this week, and she talked a little bit about that, so I'll play a little bit of that for you now.
Yeah, no, it was I don't think it could have been scripted any better. That's what everyone's been saying. First, second, title decider. It was very intense. I think that's the most intense football game I've actually been a part of. Very transitional, you know, momentum would be with us, and then, you know, quick momentum change back to Arpia and then back to us. So it was really back and forth. But, you know, the girls, they fought hard. We put in, we knew that we could come away with the premiership. And, you know, we did. We executed our game plan perfectly, and the result showed. And yeah, very, very happy to have lifted the premiership.
Was it a little bit sweeter knowing you got it against the side you spent a couple of years at?
Yeah, I mean, mixed emotions with it. You know, I did play at Arpia, and I, you know, won the premiership with them when I was there. So a bittersweet moment, but, you know, my focus and my heart's at Bulls at the moment, and I wanted to lift that for not only myself, but, you know, for the girls and the staff as well, because throughout the season, we've been putting in hard work, even behind the scenes with staff. A lot of people don't know what goes behind closed doors, but yeah, so to win that for everyone, including our fans, yeah, it was good.
And you can check out the full interview on our YouTube page, and we'll put a link to that in the description as well. And so yeah, we'll have a bit of a look ahead. Just sort of, we'll stick with New South Wales. So Bulls FC versus Mount Druitt will be the first semi-final on Saturday afternoon. I'll be on the call for that one. I'm very much looking forward to that. The other one, we'll see Arpia Leichhardt taking on UNSW in the other semi-final. Well, have a look at NPL Victoria.
Yes. Let's go NPL Vic.
The floor is yours.
So both of the semi-finals, or the prelims, or whatever you want to call them, for the Victorian version of the National Premier Leagues are being played on Saturday, the 6th of September. You've got Bulleen Lions against Box Hill United starting at 4 p.m. And then you've got Heidelberg United, who are the current premiers of the league, playing the Essendon Royals at 4:15 p.m. Very exciting stuff. I'm hoping to be at the Heidelberg United game, so let's go.
And you'll be able to watch all those games across the Football Victoria, or the NPL Victoria YouTube channel, the Football News as well as YouTube channel, and I believe for all the other states you'll be able to watch those games on the federation's respective YouTube channels that they use to broadcast those games. Sort of not really going to touch on the other states. I'm not going to pretend like I've paid too much attention to a lot of the other states this year. But those are the two, and we'll sort of, I believe Queensland have their grand final this weekend, so I'll touch on that next week, as well as look ahead to the NPL Victoria and NPL New South Wales grand finals on next week's show. We'll round out with some good news. The Junior Matildas won the Under-16s Women's ASEAN Championship. This was the same tournament but for a different age group that the Under-23 Matildas won a couple of weeks ago at Burke, and so that's now the Under-20s who have qualified for the AFC Women's Asian Cup, the Under-23s who have won the MISG Serenity Cup, the Under-16s have won the ASEAN Championships as well. Just success all around for our junior national teams.
Yeah, the future is looking pretty bright. Pretty bright.
One might even say these moves are going to look real nice in the future. But that will do it for this episode of the Dubcast, part of the Roundball Australia Podcast Network. somehow we got this done in 45 minutes, Burke.
Oh, that's good for us. Like
That is very good for
That is
us.
good for us.
I believe once I plug in the Discipio chat, it will take it just over 45 minutes, but the actual bulk of the recording under 45 minutes. How good for us?
Yeah. Damn, we're good at this now. When there isn't too much to talk about.
Wait till the season runs around.
There was actually quite a bit to talk about. No, we
There
did.
was.
We did good, but yeah, no. When the season rolls around,
We'll start getting back into those lengthier records again, and we'll start putting the call back out for questions as well once the season rolls around. As I said, that will do for this episode of the Dubcast, part of the Round Ball Australia podcast network. We'll be back next week to chat NPL finals, whatever player transfers happen between now and then, and maybe Western United. Who knows what's happening there? But we'll be back next week. Thank you very much for tuning in. Goodbye.